Yeah, I get it. This trade happened yesterday, but I wanted to give it some time to breathe and settle in before diving into it in a video. In fact, I was kind of debating within myself, like, do we make a video about this trade? Because these are the kinds of things that you see very frequently in these junior leagues, and eventually, after sitting with it a little bit, I was like, yeah, this is actually a really good trade, and it's one that I think Detroit Red Wings fans should be paying attention to because of what we get out of it. Take a look at this. We are talking today about Red Wings' 9th overall pick in the 2023 NHL Entry Draft, Nate Danielson. Because, as you could already tell from the title and the thumbnail, he has gotten traded in the WHL. The Red Wings didn't trade him, his rights still belong with Detroit, but Nate Danielson, who was initially drafted out of the Brandon Wheat King system as their captain, is now heading over to the Portland Winterhawks, still in the WHL. This initially came to us from a tweet from Joshua Kritzer. Breaking, I'm hearing the Portland Winterhawks have struck a major deal in the closing minutes before the WHL trade deadline with the Brandon Wheat Kings for Red Wings signed first-round forward Nate Danielson. Danielson was the 9th overall pick in the 2023 draft. And then we had ourselves the Brandon Wheat Kings themselves confirming this deal on Twitter. The Wheat Kings have traded Danielson to the Winterhawks in exchange for Nicholas Johnson, Rhett Ravndal, a first-round pick in 2025 and 2027, and a 5th-round pick in 2026. And if you look at the breakdown just visualized right here, yeah, Nate Danielson got traded for 5 individual assets, including 2 WHL first-round picks. Now, the thing is, when it comes to these junior trades that usually go down, they follow a certain pattern every single time. Normally, heading into the WHL or OHL or QMJHL trade deadlines, you'll see teams that are near the bottom or the middle of the pack of the standings trading away a lot of their older, just experienced talent to Memorial Cup contending teams. This is normally because these teams that are at the Memorial Cup level or near the top of their respective junior leagues really want to load up and maximize their chances. These teams and these players, they don't have long lifespans. You'll play in the OHL from 16, 17, 18, 19, and then by 20 you're gone. So the window of opportunity is always so slim. And when it comes to the Memorial Cup features 3 individual leagues, so any team that is near the top of a league will always try to put their chips on the table, go all in, just cash out whatever draft picks they have and say, screw it, all the good players in the middle of the pack to bottom tier teams in the league, please give them to us. And Nate Danielson was definitely a part of that conversation because if you take a look at the Brandon Wheat Kings, they are a literal middle-of-the-pack team right here, 11th out of 22 in the WHL, 20 wins, 39 games played, 134 goals for. But the Portland Winterhawks are 3rd overall in the entire WHL. They're 25-10-1, and they've got 177 goals on the year. They're one of the best offensive teams, and the reason why this is a good thing for Red Wings fans is because Nate Danielson is a Red Wings prospect, and he's going to be heading over to a squad that will hopefully allow him to exhibit more offensive opportunities and maybe get some good production, too. As we had said, Danielson was the 9th overall pick by Detroit in the recent draft, so he kind of does have a lot of expectations on his shoulder, especially when you consider some of the names that were taken after him in this draft. Dalibor Dvorsky has had a rough season. Zach Benson is already in the NHL. He is at 14 points in 31 games played. Brayden Yager is a goal-scoring machine. Axel Sandin-Pellikka is a fellow Red Wing. Oliver Moore's looked pretty good so far. And then there are a few other NCAA players that were taken the further you go down. But for Nate Danielson, this is a player who, as a two-way capable guy, definitely didn't exhibit the point production that I feel a lot of people would have immediately thought of if they said, okay, yeah, top 10 talent in the NHL draft. I mean, he's been really consistent, point per game guy in his draft year, or not draft year, the draft minus 1 year he had, over a point per game in his draft year, 78 points in 68 games played, but he's only had 26 points in 26 Wheat Kings games this year. As we had said, the team is a middle-of-the-pack team, and when you take a look at the point production for the rest of the Wheat Kings, it's not really the most diverse set of guys. I mean, you have other players here who are scoring, but they're all kind of roughly in that point per game, sub point per game territory. There isn't really anybody who is dominating in point production like you'll find on the Portland Winterhawks. If you just go over to their team, you'll see multiple players just way over a point per game. 65 points in 37 games for Gabe Klassen. James Stefan has 55 points in 36 games. Josh Davies, Luca Cagnoni, these guys are superstar studs. And I say superstar studs in the context of the WHL. This is a much better team offensively than Brayden is. So for Nate Danielson, he will hopefully round out this forward core in Portland with his two-way capabilities. He'll most likely get all sorts of special teams time, power play, penalty kill. This will be an all situations type of situation. All situations type of situation. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. And if you wanted to go over as to how this impacts the way that his season has gone, it's a nice stepping stone, I feel, from what we could say was potentially an underwhelming World Juniors. He had 3 points in 5 games for Team Canada at the recent showcase, which honestly, you know, I mean, the guy's only 19 years old. He'll still be eligible, I think. Will he be? No, I don't think he will be. No, he should not be eligible for next year's World Juniors because he'll be 20 by the time the tournament starts. But Team Canada as a whole was pretty disappointing, and if you wanted to go over to individual assessments, I mean, he did play pretty all right. And to help us out with that, we're going over on an article published by Stephen Ellis on dailyfaceoff.com, how every NHL prospect performed at the 2024 World Junior Championship. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to go ahead and read this, but if you scroll down over to the Nate Danielson conversation, he only had 3 points, but you could tell why he made it so long at Detroit's training camp. Few players battled as hard on the boards as he did. He got in the way of the check rush and landed some hits too. Danielson will never be flashy, but he plays a smart, simple game with very few noticeable flaws. This is part of the reason why this trade over to Portland is such a big deal. We already know that Nate Danielson can be a strong two-way presence. It's even mentioned here in the scouting report on Elite Prospects. He's a creator of rush offense, he builds speed beneath the puck, he's got powerful, agile crossovers, and he can turn corners really well. He's a speed skater and he's got good handling, and even on the Dobber Prospects report, it even says that he's a hard-working two-way center with good size and mobility. We already knew that Nate Danielson had these leadership qualities to potentially be, let's say, as high as a second, third-line center on a team within 3 to 4 years. We knew that already. He's got a really good 200-foot game. But the offense, you could always say there was more that was desired, and his point-per-game metric in his Draft +1 season with Brayden definitely indicated that. So hopefully with Portland, with much better teammates who can score a lot more points, Nate Danielson is able to get himself on the board more, and if that bolsters up any confidence that Red Wings fans have in his abilities long term, that is ultimately a win. It's a win for Danielson because he's going over to a better team, hopefully with Memorial Cup chances. It's good for the Winterhawks because they're getting themselves this good, talented player. It's great for the Brandon Wheat Kings because they're not really all too fantastic anyway, and getting these players and picks will help them out. And then it's good for Red Wings fans because it means there will probably be more Nate Danielson highlights as he gets more points and starts improving his production. So, this trade in the WHL is a huge win for the Red Wings. This video went out there and tried to explain why. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you're a Portland Winterhawks, Brandon Wheat Kings fan, then hey, feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments as to this entire trade and what the implications are because of it. If you've got any insight to the Portland Winterhawks and their systems, where do you think Nate Danielson is going to play? How well do you think he'll mesh with this system? Do you think he's going to be a super relied upon type of all situations player? Penalty kill, power play, defensive center responsibilities, he can win board battles, he can hit, he can back check. Nate Danielson has such a good foundation of just a regular old no-nonsense kind of hockey player, but we could use a little bit more offense in terms of his development. So let me know your thoughts in the comments as to whether or not they'll be accomplished. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.